All right. Well, welcome to another edition of the Unpredictable Pipeline. We are talking in this series with marketing leaders about 2020 and about the pivots we've had to make this year work in the face of, well, Jasmine, a bunch of different headwinds that continue to come at us. So with us today on the Unpredictable Pipeline, we've got Dr. Jasmine Martirossian. She is the VP of Marketing at TÜV SÜD. And Doctor, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Matt, for having me. I'm delighted to be on your show.
So when we talked about the pivots you guys have had to make, well, first of all, actually, before we get into that, maybe just sort of just for people that aren't familiar with the company, talk a little bit about TÜV SÜD, what you guys do, and sort of what your marketing team looks like.
Sure. So TÜV SÜD is a global organization headquartered in Germany with over 150 years of history. We take safety of products for granted, but majority of products to be sold in any market need to be tested to regulatory standards, among other things that our company does, to allow for them to operate safely in the global markets. And we are one of the largest providers of those services. I am based out of our America's headquarters and am responsible for America's marketing to US, Canada, Mexico, and Brazil.
And talk a little bit about kind of what March was like for you guys. We started 2020 with grand plans, all of us, in the first couple of months, seemed to go okay. And then all of a sudden, things started to shut down. What was that like for you guys? How did you guys make some initial adjustments to sort of the new realities?
Well, I'm very proud of our organization. We responded very quickly, and we're an essential business, so we've operated nonstop throughout. And we made it a priority to protect the safety of our employees and customers, to actually work very hard to preserve jobs and to make for a safer workplace. Those of us who could work from home started working from home, but we kept the culture really strong. In fact, I'd say this has been a great opportunity for us to further strengthen our culture. The marketing team, for instance, has been doing daily stand-up calls. We have had more collaboration, frankly, than ever before, because we have a lot of marketers that are, spread all over the US, Mexico. So that's made a huge difference. And then the entire organization, we've had connect up calls, town halls weekly, and the participation has been tremendous. So that has made a difference for all of us.
I love that.
And another thing I want to add, that on behalf of marketing, we knew, and actually our entire organization knew, we had to start doing other things. We started offering remote services. For instance, audits were done remotely in some instances whenever possible. We had to be agile, and marketing as well. We had to start doing a lot of different things. And we also had to even change our messaging because the time suddenly changed. So you can't continue doing the same thing when your environment is different. And we had to retool, step back, and actually come back at it with greater heart and caring and reaching out to people at this very difficult time of COVID.
I mean, I remember when we talked before this interview, we talked about just leading with the heart, right? And doing that both internally and externally. You used an analogy about users in church pews. Can you talk about what that means and why that was so important?
Well, what's interesting, we had to step back, and it's not just, first of all, we always lead with content and bringing value and benefits to the marketplace and customers. We try to shy away from transactional stuff. But we had to step back and really say, how can we help people? So we came up with an infographic that actually is based on all CDC and global health guidelines, but frankly, it does an even better job. And I heard that in Evanston, Illinois, churches started using it in their pews as a giveaway to attendees to follow the safer guidelines. So this was a great example of a marketing team far extending beyond what we normally reach as an audience. And really, it came from a good place in our heart to really help people, because there was so much information. It was very hard for people to make heads or tails. So we stepped back, brought it all together, and made a difference.
You also talked about professional pooches, which I don't think you hear a lot. You don't hear that as sort of an example of a pivot or a best practice from 2020. What is that?
Laughter is a remedy, right? It heals. And at this time, there is so much gravity and gravitas to everything that we have to deal with, so much disruption. I don't know of a single human being whose life has not been somehow changed or affected. And that's actually globally. And so we, again, step back in leading with the heart. We try to engage people, help build culture, but also bring some smiles. So we reached out to our employees and asked them to nominate their pooches, because now guess what? They were spending way more time with their pooches at home. And we then wrote stories about them. We got the basics, and then we took the characteristics, even sometimes of the people, and made funny stories about them, and we posted them on our website, and it got tremendous response. The first few weeks, it was like the number 3rd highly trafficked page on our website, which says a lot. And I've received more emails about that than just about anything else from internal employees, thanking us for the effort, because it really touched people's hearts. So COVID has made us step back and not just talk to people's minds, but also their hearts.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, I like, it's just you have so many great examples of just putting the heart into the marketing, putting heart into the brand, and sort of just exercises some empathy and grace for people inside and outside the company right now. One other thing you mentioned, just from a marketing pivot standpoint, is you talked about having to do different messages and change sort of the value prop in the way you talk about the product and benefits. You also did a lot of tests around when people were receptive to a message, and you did some counterproductive things in terms of day and times sending. Can you talk a little bit about those tests and what you learned from those?
We always try to learn, right? Like, there's not a single day that either I or my team doesn't learn anything new, because we have to, and we have safe spaces to experiment and drive, A/B testing, try new things, because how are we going to learn, COVID or no COVID? But this was an even greater opportunity, because every schedule was disrupted. People were operating in different ways. So it was an opportunity for us to test new approaches, new times. So a 5 p.m. Email campaign yielded spectacular result on a Friday. Normally, that would be one of the least worst performing time slots. Saturday, 11 a.m. performed remarkably well. Now, we don't want to necessarily go and do it all the time, because it could, people could tune out and be actually turned off by that. But on the other hand, every now and then, it's interesting to experiment. I mean, the only way we learn is by, trying something, looking at the data, and then trying something else.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you for your insights today. Thanks for sharing this. And my last question for you, I think, is just for you, sort of personally, as you've navigated through this. What's something that you miss from the beginning of the year, that once we can go back to normal, that you're looking forward to getting back to? And also, what's maybe something you don't miss, that was maybe a habit from a past life, from the old normal, that you don't want to continue into the new life?
It's easier to answer what I miss, which is it's 2 parts, right? Human interactions. We're really all kind of in a vacuum. I'm very grateful, to have had the opportunity to work from home, but humans are social animals, so definitely miss that. Then anybody who knows me well or personally knows I'm a travel addict. And I love to travel, and I love the discovery and learning and the challenges that travel presents. I'm one of the people who actually likes being in airports. So that, of course, I miss dramatically. So
that's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing what you've been doing, what TÜV SÜD's been doing as well. Thanks for sharing what the unpredictable pipeline has looked like for you this year.
Thank you, Matt. Nice to be on your show.
All right. Thanks very much.